It is my pleasure now, ladies and gentlemen, to open the 77th Annual Assembly of Zionism Victoria, formerly the Zionist Council of Victoria, formerly the State Zionist Council of Victoria, and I don't go back any further than that. But thank you all for coming, and I note, just for the record, that this organisation preceded the State of Israel by some 10 years, but nevertheless stands firmly behind the State of Israel in everything that she does. It just was absolutely striking that just 1 year ago we were standing here in this very hall commemorating 4 people who had died in a horrific attack in Jerusalem. Now, thank God, and really thank God, we can't be talking about mass casualty incidents in Israel at the moment, and that is really a blessing, not something that anybody would wish for. But in so many ways, over so many days in the last several weeks, we have experienced daily terror, and the people of Israel, in particular the people who live and work and socialise in Jerusalem, have had to go about their daily lives looking over their shoulders at what might be the next attack coming. Now, thank God in Australia it's much less of a problem than it is elsewhere, but Australia is not immune. And before we commence tonight's formal proceedings, I would ask you all please to join me in a minute's silence in memory of the victims of Paris, but not only the victims of Paris, the victims of the bombings that took place in Beirut a couple of nights before that saw 43 people dead at the hands of Hezbollah terrorists, the victims in Israel, the victims everywhere who suffer for no reason other than other people wishing to make a point. And we hope very much that that point will never be made. Please join me in a minute's silence.
It is an honour for me to be here with you tonight on this, the 77th Annual Assembly of Zionism Victoria. It gives me great pleasure to congratulate incoming President Sharene Hambur and to acknowledge the exceptional work of outgoing President Sam Tatarka. Zionism Victoria has championed the cause of Israel and the Jewish people with a conviction and vitality that is truly impressive for 77 years. When thinking about the accurate description of the Jewish community in Australia, I cannot attach the term diaspora because it just doesn't do it justice. With all its heartwarming support, its profound connection to Israel, its practice events and endeavours, particularly here in Zionism Victoria, the community is more like an extension of our homeland, a home away from home. A message from Israel tonight would not be complete without some words in recognition of Sam's incredible achievements over his 5-year stint as president. There simply isn't enough time to mention all of Sam's successes, but there are some initiatives he championed that I must draw attention to. It is fitting that we should be farewelling Sam here in the Bet Weizmann Community Center, as a hallmark of his presidency has been to develop of this facility into a central gathering place for cultural, educational, ceremonial, and political activity in the community. Looking around, I think that we can say you achieved your dream of establishing a genuine community center in Melbourne, overcoming all financial issues. What an accomplishment it is. As the Embassy of Israel spokesperson and cultural attaché in Australia, you can understand how much it excites me to hear this building is artistically flourishing, with art exhibitions and creative brainstorming to a Jewish film club, library program, and the kosher kitchen, both held here and at the Lime Library. Sam's passion for increased engagement with young people in the community and his tireless work fostering comprehensive relationship with Zionist youth movements are valuable efforts. These movements are a dynamic and powerful source of Jewish identity. These aspiration to put Israel firmly in the hearts of the next generation is inspiring. Israelis were deeply moved by the 2012 Code Red Stop the Rocket Solidarity Rally and the peace demonstration in 2014, and Zionism Victoria's contribution to the international campaign for the release of Hamas held Gilad Shalit, all organized under Sam's leadership. Toda rabah, Sam.
Can I thank you for the opportunity to come along and to have the chance to speak with you all this evening. I also come with the regards from the Prime Minister, Malcolm Turnbull, who was either on his way to or has already arrived in the Philippines as part of the APEC discussion that will be taking place there. But on his behalf, I convey his apologies. It is indeed a pleasure for me to have the opportunity to come along and be invited to speak at this, your 77th Annual Assembly of Zionism Victoria. Now, this opportunity, with the wounds of Paris still raw, necessitated a refresh of my comments. I'd originally envisaged discussing Israel's innovation culture and our mutual passion to engage with the world. But now, I feel it's appropriate to touch on some of the mutual threats that we endure. I don't seek to dwell unnecessarily on the events of the past days or to shadow the achievement of 77 years of Zionism Victoria's dedication. Nonetheless, this audience would have a greater appreciation than most of the threat to innocence posed by radical Islamists. 77 years ago, 1938, was a time of impending global conflict. The Third Reich was near its full strength, comprising a sea of people devoted to a warped ideology, facilitated by media propaganda and political preaching that were whipped into a frenzy of supremacist belief. This organisation, like many other Zionist groups, emerged as a response to these extreme pressures that were faced by the Jewish people globally in the 1930s. In the face of hostility, you did not cower or absolve. In the face of moral challenge, you had clarity. And in the face of adversity, you endured. The global conflict of World War II would show humanity an unprecedented glimpse of its own potential for darkness and evil. It also seared the lesson of the inherent weakness and folly of appeasement, the creeping danger of relativism, and the innate importance of universal truths. Now, the world faces challenges from similar methods, although clearly not of the same magnitude. The rise of the ISIL Caliphate mirrors so many aspects of the rise of the fascist state from World War I, not the least of which includes the use of terror as a tool to strike fear both within and without. Israel knows this threat. Since its establishment, there have been those that are determined to break her, to delegitimise her, and to subject the innocents within to a campaign of terror of varying intensity over many decades. I noted comments in the wake of the Paris attacks expressing concern the Western world hadn't expressed sorrow and empathy following the murder of 43 people in the hands of terrorists in Beirut only hours before events unfolded in Paris. It was suggested, by way of a question, that the Western world did not care because Arab lives mattered less. Let me be clear. Arab lives do matter, as do lives in the West, as do lives of the Jewish people. We are humanity, and all lives matter, and this is a universal truth. We must stand united against the repugnant, including where it is state or authority sanctioned. In the last 24 hours, a Sunday opinion piece in the official Palestinian Authority daily, Al Hayat Al Jadida, apologies for pronunciation, was brought to my attention. It blamed Israel's Mossad intelligence agency for Friday's deadly attacks in Paris, suggesting that they were orchestrated in order to undermine new European moves, promoting a two-state solution and providing the clear labelling of produce from Israeli West Bank settlements, according to a report that I read in the Israel Times. It goes on and quotes this from the Palestinian Authority newspaper: "The wise and correct thing is to look for who benefits," the op-ed continued. In short, they need to search the last place reached by the octopus arms of the Mossad. It is clear that it is Mossad that will burn Beirut and Paris in order to achieve Prime Minister Netanyahu's goals. He who challenged the master of the White House hides in his soul enough evil to burn the world. I condemn this propaganda. Throughout the past 77 years, this organisation, along with others, championed support for the establishment and development of Israel. Few organisations can boast of the success that you have earned. Few organisations realise their central mission in their first decade, as Zionist groups like Zionism Victoria did when Israel was established. Throughout the 67 years since 1948, your work and progress has been significant. supporting the development of Israel and building a strong and successful society, working to secure Israel's place in the Middle East despite frequent hostility and existential threats, and helping to cement and foster Israel's position in the global communities, which is in many ways a world leader. Zionism Victoria and the Zionist Federation of Australia have performed a particularly important role, with Victoria a safe haven for Holocaust survivors. And I am pleased throughout that Australia has always been a strong friend and supporter of Israel. Our support is evidenced through both a political and social context. As a fellow democracy, Australia is steadfast in our support of the existence of Israel, as well as her development. Likewise, we're also strongly supportive of Israel as an economic partner. Israel is, after all, not just a strong state. It's also a vibrant economy, an innovative, outward-looking, future-focused economy. And in this globalised world, when many nations share goods and services but do not share values, we look for like-minded partners. Israel and Australia share values. We share a belief in our people that they are the foundation on which every aspect of our society is built, and to whom all effort must be directed. They are the primary consideration the state must have, the people to safeguard and to protect.
The Zionist Federation has responsibilities not only here in Australia but also in Israel. Our Israel office, led by Yigal Seller, is responsible for looking after the needs of some 750 young people, all on a various range of activities in Israel right at this time. Zionism in Australia leads the Zionist work of the world in a per capita basis that no other nation can compete with. It's one that we've inherited from years of successive, excellent leadership and commitment from members of this community. The biannual Zionist Education Conference, which will be held again in 2016, last year hosted some 500 educators, and that's an outstanding achievement. We have 18 shlichim around the country. We have 7 active youth movements, including the establishment of Hatzofim, the Israeli Scouts, both in Melbourne and Sydney, over the last few years. And we're looking at the possibility of another movement, Noam, being established in the near future. Our work with the Russian-speaking Jewry is an exemplar to the rest of the world in how to develop a relationship with the community newly arrived and some wanting to be engaged. And similarly with the establishment of the Israeli Centre, led by Haleli, in next door, we are doing some outstanding work, and part of that is in cooperation with the Zionism Victoria and what was referred to before with the Yom Ha'atzmaut Day celebration here, that in its first year had essentially a number of about 800, mainly Israelis, participating in that day activity, to last year 2,000. Tremendous growth, and we invite members of both the Israeli community and the Russian community and every member of the community to be involved in Zionist activity. And so it goes on. And in the area of advocacy, we work together and we've had some accomplishments, excellent accomplishments. Our partnerships with the Arava and our new partnership that will commence in 2016 with the Golan, with the newly established Dilla training program for 16-year-olds, and we will have 20 young Year 10 students involved in an exchange program with 20 students from the Golan on a year's program, and this is something we will soon be saying Shechianu for when it commences in 2016. The activity with young adults, the activity of Aliyah, which is led both in Melbourne and Sydney by professionals, our representation of the Jewish Agency and the WZO are all part and parcel of the activities of the Zionist Federation. But here in Victoria, The inspiration is Zionism Victoria, and I want to take this opportunity again to extend a mazel tov and a yasher koyach to Sam for his work, to extend my best wishes and absolute confidence in the election of Sharene, who's been integrally involved in the leadership of the Victorian Zionist movement now for many years, to take the opportunity to thank my team at the Zionist Federation led by Jeanette Searle and the team of people working in Zionism Victoria led by Jane Rapke, and to thank all of you for your support and involvement. Thank you.
That's just a potted version of over 60 years of communal involvement. And I ask you, Edith, to come up to be presented with an award that I think has been too long in its arrival. And there's more. Edith, we love you and we admire you.
Well, all I want to say is thank you very much, Ian, for your very kind words. Anybody who knows me knows that I enjoy what I'm doing, and it's been a pleasure, 60 years plus. Thank you very much.
As an appreciation of all your hard work and wise counsel for the last 4 years, we're about to present this gift certificate, which records that a copy of the book Lincoln and the Jews has been dedicated in your name at the Lamb Jewish Library. It's an appreciation of all your efforts.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
הקרב היה בוער והכיתה לא זזה, המפקד היה אומר אתה ראשון ידענו שכסבלן ראשון תמיד לצעוד ומאחור הם צעקו כל הכבוד. כולם היו יודעים בסוף מאוד למי יש יותר כבוד. כולם היו יודעים בסוף מאוד למי תמיד למי יש יותר כבוד. אחד הולך עם בחורה ביפו בן 40, אם רק תרצה אצלי תהיה ישר בין הידיים. הכל מיד המלוך שלא ירחיב מאוד, כי זה אצלי פשוט יש כבוד. כולם היו יודעים הסחוב מאוד למי יש יותר כבוד. כולם היו יודעים הסחוב מאוד למי יש יותר כבוד.
Thank you for 5 years of leadership.
On the mic.
It's just too big. Actually, it's good. I can kind of put it here in between. Thank you for 5 years of leadership. You aren't escaping that easily, but hopefully you will hang this in your study, think of us, and come up with some more ideas that are out of the box.
Thank you, sir. I'll go in there.
What can you say? Right. Traditionally, and thanks to one's family, comes last, and often with the caveat of acharon, acharon chaviv, which means last and last but most precious or most loved. However, in departure from tradition, I wish to first and foremost express my deep gratitude to my dear wife Miriam and our children Atara, Avraham, Menucha and Ari, who supported and encouraged me despite the undoubted impact on their lives of the many days and nights that I am engaged in community endeavours. Without their considerable understanding and forbearance, I simply could not have served the community as I have. I was truly delighted when Sharene Hambur, who has so ably fulfilled the role of Vice President, agreed to succeed me as President, the first woman to take on the role since Oshia Mercer in the mid-1980s. As my predecessor Danny Lamb was wont to say, the mark of a good communal leader is the calibre of the person who succeeds him, and I am sure that Sharene will stand me in good stead in that regard. In addition to her professionalism, intelligence and strong commitment to Israel, Sharene will bring a fresh perspective to the presidency of Zionism Victoria, particularly due to her role as a leader in the Australian and international progressive movement. Over the past year, we have worked closely together in order to achieve a smooth transition. I know that she will ably represent the Zionist movement in Victoria, and I look forward to continuing to work with her in our new roles.
I am greatly honoured and a little intimidated to have been elected President of Zionism Victoria, and I hope and pray that I will be able to live up to the trust that you have all placed in me. I follow in the footsteps of a group of dedicated and talented presidents, two of whom are in the room tonight, and I acknowledge the amazing contribution that has been made and continues to be made by Philip Chester and Dr. Danny Lamb. As some of you may have read in the Jewish News and J-Wire, I have had an amazing example of community leadership from within my family. Both of my maternal grandparents were actively involved in the Zionist community through the Zionist Federation of Australia and WITSO, and my mother has carried on this example through her roles with WITSO and many other organisations. Through their example, I learnt that the importance of giving to the Jewish community, of which I am so proud to be a part. My mother tells me that my grandparents would be very proud of this role, and that I'm assuming that she also assumes they would query if I'm mad. They would not be the first people to ask that question. As I've learnt from the example of my parents and my grandparents, I've also learnt much from the outgoing President Sam Tatarka about the way to lead an organisation. While obviously I will bring my own particular style to this position, the lessons that I have learnt from Sam will form a strong foundation for my presidency. As his Vice President for the last 5 years, I have seen that Sam has brought to Zionism Victoria a unique set of skills. His passion for Israel and his ability to advocate on her behalf have been shown on many occasions. And he has coupled this with a sound commercial outlook, which has enabled the Beth Weitzman Community Centre and the Lamb Jewish Library of Australia to truly become a communal centre. Sam's vision and creativity have enabled us to upgrade this building and to introduce many new initiatives of which our community is now reaping the benefit. To walk any day into either building during business hours is an amazing experience, and I encourage those of you who have not done so to do it. Under Sam's guidance, initiatives such as the Cook Kitchen, which provides an opportunity for communal groups to cook in a kosher supervised setting, the Do Good Labs, a social hub for young entrepreneurs and a meeting place for young people in the community, Knit One, Give One, and the Jewish Bereaved Parents Group, as well as many other groups, have found homes, and I know that Sam has lots of other exciting plans brewing in his mind. Sam has brought to Zionism Victoria a shared vision. His willingness to engage with all parts of our community and encourage a shared conversation about Israel and the issues that affect her has served to engage new people in the work of Zionism Victoria, and this is something I hope to build on in the years to come. Sam has managed to combine his busy practice as a barrister, his role as a father and husband, and his role as president in a way that has left me speechless, although I suspect the attachment to his phone might have had something to help that along. Sam, you made me a promise that you will be around to help me, and let me assure you I'm holding you to it. Miriam, thank you for lending us your husband. I know that on occasion it has not been easy. He returns to you with the thanks of the Melbourne Jewish community and on the basis that we retain limited borrowing rights going forward. To take the leadership of this organisation is a daunting task. The role of supporting and advocating for Israel is not one that has become easier in the last few years, and I suspect it will continue to bring its challenges in the years to come. We need to acknowledge that the challenges that face us are both external, as we continue to attempt to tell Israel's story to those around us, and internal, as we continue to search for ways to engage members of our community who, for a variety of reasons, have disengaged for the conversation about Israel. Over the next 12 months, I hope that the leadership of Zionism Victoria will spend some time talking about these issues and adopting some new strategies to meet some of these challenges. The organisation of which I assume the presidency has many strengths. Chief among them are you, our affiliates and supporters. As the Gen 08 survey told us, the Australian Jewish community is a highly Zionistic one, and the love and support that Israel receives from our community, together with the terrific professional staff of Zionism Victoria, mean that we have a wonderful base to start from. I suspect we know all too well the threats that face us. We continually battle a media that in the main appears unable and unwilling to bring a balanced picture of the issues that face Israel, and we know that there are also those within the Australian community who can only see one viewpoint. These forces threaten to demoralise and depress us, and sometimes lead us to wonder whether it's just all too hard and we're fighting a losing battle. But I don't believe that anyone in this room believes that we should just give up. We need to be realistic about the story we tell about Israel. Not everything is perfect. Israel is a country like every other country. She faces challenges every day, probably more than many, and sometimes she does not make decisions which are palatable to all of us. Sometimes her people do not act in a way that we, sitting so many miles away, believe shows the type of Israel that we would like. But notwithstanding this, we know that this is no different from any other country or people in the world. When this happens, we should not shy away from our feelings, but on the other hand, we should remind ourselves of all the wonderful and positive things that do happen. Like the media, we are guilty of holding Israel up to a standard of behaviour that is higher than other countries. But we do so out of our love for her, and we should be proud of doing so. But should we also be prepared to understand the country and the challenges she faces, and to tell her story proudly and loudly.